Welcome to the Lunatic Libertarian live on YouTube. Check me out. Got the new gear. Kelsey Line Designs did everything for me. I'll never be able to repay her for all the hard work she put in. I don't care how much money I paid her. It really is irrelevant. She got the work done, and that's what we're talking about, getting work done. I'm the Lunatic Libertarian, hitting you live on YouTube. I'm with my man, Roy Martin from Northern Wisconsin, and he's trying to run for the 6th Assembly District. How you doing, Roy?
Hi. Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
So, Roy, let's just get right into it. You're a very big cannabis advocate, aren't you?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm a disabled veteran who had a terminal lung illness, or so they said. And to go with PTSD and arthritis and many other ailments that I was suffering from. And they had me on so many different medications that I was sick all the time and I wasn't getting any better. And finally, one of my doctors suggested that I tried some cannabis therapy. And I'm a single parent. And I said they gave me about 18 months to live if something drastic didn't change. I was down to 27% lung function. And so I was ready to try anything. So I went up to Michigan and I started studying and checking this out. And the 18 months had gone by and I had been on this cannabis therapy. I was off all of their pharmaceuticals. Well, I take that back. I did occasionally, I still use a rescue inhaler. But I was up to 53% lung function. And I mean, it was just life-changing. And I continued with that medicine now, and it's been going probably close to 7 years now. And I'm back up to almost 70% lung function. And the cannabis that I use is a very directed type of treatment where I have to get into my lungs, so I use a vaporizer and put it right in there, which the bill that they had here in Wisconsin didn't include that.
Correct.
And I testified on Wednesday in favor of this bill, which is a very limited scope, but also I tried to educate them on what medical cannabis actually is, because as I found at listening to all of the other testimony, that most people really do not understand it. But as I needed to, I dedicated my life to studying cannabis. I currently hold 10 certificates in cannabis, including medical applications of cannabis, cannabis patient care, compliance and regulation, cultivation, extraction, just the basic history of cannabis, which goes back medicinally being used for over 4,000 years.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I found most interesting about this bill is, that the tinctures that they would like to include as one of the medicines that they have, which is illegal right now. If you have a cannabis tincture in Wisconsin, it's illegal. And 100 years ago, it was also illegal, but not because of the cannabis. It was because of the alcohol.
Yes.
And this guy named Harry Anslinger, who was in charge of the alcohol bureau back then.
Big fucking downer. Henry Anslinger, if I know where your grave is, I'm not going to come piss on it, but I'll definitely give you a talking to, because the propaganda that went into Reefer Madness, he was our first drug czar, and he really wanted to alienate people and separate human beings, saying that Mexicans or blacks were going to rape and kill your white women. That's pretty much the line that he was using to get his policies passed. My research told me that Henry Anslinger did this because he was more biased for the petroleum to become the number one cash crop, and that's why hemp and cannabis had to be prohibited from production. So that was my understanding of it. When you talk Henry Anslinger, what do you think about this man?
Well, he flip-flopped on the subject all through his entire career. During prohibition of alcohol, he spoke positively in favor of cannabis and told people they should use it as a safe alternative. But then once prohibition ended, and as a law enforcement official, he no longer had anything to be against. And so he had to justify his budget. And so he came up with cannabis being the new thing that he decided was going to be this evil. And like you said, he came out with these horror stories that one toke turns you into a murderer and a rapist. And
you're more predisposed if you're Black or Mexican or Hispanic or not Caucasian.
Well, that's where the term marijuana came from.
Correct. Which is a derogatory term, in my opinion. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. Up until that time, it was referred to as cannabis, and it was used medicinally. But when he went before the Congress in 1937 to testify for the Marijuana Tax Act, they called it marijuana because of the horror stories that came out of Mexico from people who use this local weed. And they called it marijuana. So when they testified before Congress, nobody had heard of this marijuana before. And they're hearing these horrible stories about marijuana. And the American Medical Association didn't know this term either, so they did not object. It was not till later that they realized what they meant. And then later on in Anslinger's career, he flopped again when it came time for going to Vietnam and all of that, because then these hippies would smoke the reefer and then they wouldn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
And that was part of the problem of having these lifetime career politicians that were set into these positions for so long through multiple presidents on both sides of the aisle. People like J. Edgar Hoover and Dr. Fauci. Dr.
Fauci is a bureaucrat, though. He's not really an elected official. He's a bureaucrat. Anybody that's appointed, anybody that's appointed is a bureaucrat. They're not actually elected to their office. They're appointed by our supposed elected officials, and these people are only there to help their friends because that's why they are appointed. It's not like they're randomly selected for their expertise just by their background. No, these people have to be groomed and everything else. Hence our public policy nightmare that everybody has gone through, in my personal opinion, ever since the Federal Reserve was instituted. But yet again, that's my personal opinion, that it's always been against the human beings of the United States, and only to isolate and to create a hierarchy to where you are going to be dependent on the state. Now, as a veteran, I'm a veteran myself. We both swore an oath to the Constitution to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Do you think that's something that's instituted in your being as far as helping your fellow man, and why you're so passionate about cannabis prohibition?
Well, definitely, because I see how the law is not applied equally. And the statistics really cannot lie. Here in my county, as a Native American, we make up 8% of the population of this particular county. But in 2019, accounted for 32% of the cannabis arrests.
What?
So the numbers, they don't lie, and you go down to Milwaukee where someone's 4.7, a black man is 4.7 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis than a white man. And I know that I keep hearing the argument, well, yes, but did black people commit more crimes? And I just want to shake people sometimes, but the non-aggression pact,
fuck that.
makes me just have to, okay, you're an idiot. I fought for your right to be an idiot. I'm just not going to give you any wind and walk away from you. It annoys me when these people that claim that somebody's saying something, that they're spreading all this false stuff, and so then they put all these cameras on him and talk about how he's talking about this false stuff and keep repeating the false stuff.
Well, I think libertarians can always see through the movie that is being produced in front of us, as far as network television or cable television or whatever the advertisers keep people glued into their seats and stuck to their television sets. I think that's what they're actually doing. They're creating a production that people get glued to. It's like what the hell was it? It was what the hell? Who played Rain Man? What was his name?
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman. It was a movie, Dog War, or some
Wag the Dog, or
it was some kind of war movie where they actually just created the war on television. Maybe Wag the Dog.
That's Wag the Dog.
Okay, so Wag the Dog, Dustin Hoffman produces a movie that actually tells the American public that there's a war going on only for the war and to create a simulation for the American people. Now, as far as what's going on now, I think they actually use that to kind of like simulate it, and then they implemented it so people wouldn't even think that's as actually what was reality going on. And then we went into 9/11 and so on and so forth and so on and so forth to where we are now, from 20 years in Afghanistan plus, and Iraq and Northern Africa, and I can get into a bunch of other stuff that we're into, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. Well, Canadian bacon was always one of my favorites because I think that it could closely tie into where we were at when President Trump was pulling us out of all of these engagements. And for the first time in forever, our president didn't get us into any new engagements. And we were scaling down. And now all of a sudden we need to justify this military budget that we have, this massive military budget. And we didn't have anything. And we had to come up with something. Well, and now we have something, and the big red scare is back again. And
remember, Trump progressively advanced the national defense budget over the course of 10 years. It's going to increase exponentially year after year after year after year after year for 10 years.
Yeah, that is one of the areas that we need to really figure out where our military money is going, because the American people are being duped. And as a veteran, I've seen firsthand how our money is spent, and it's not spent, smartly, I guess, especially when you get into war zones like that, because a lot of times everything is done in cash. There's not a whole lot of good accounting for it. And then we build all of this brand new equipment and we ship it to a country, and then in reality, we leave it there because we know it's cheaper just to make more than it is to ship home the stuff that we had. So essentially, we're arming the world like we did in Afghanistan by leaving things behind. And now we're shipping hundreds of millions, billions of dollars worth of arms to the Ukraine so we can buy more for ourselves. The next, the newest, the shinier, the bright.
Yeah, it's the military-industrial complex is something that's been instituted ever since the Federal Reserve. We had the Roaring 20s, and then our economy was completely dropped into the Great Depression, and then we've been indebted to the Federal Reserve ever since because we're always borrowing. And this borrowing money multiplier manipulation or new monetary theory or whatever the fuck they want to call it now, it's just another Ponzi scheme and another game, because we all know money comes out of nowhere. It comes out of thin air. We just trust it as a thing to obtain goods and services. If I were able to trust Roy, and Roy can trust Justin, I think that we can have a mutual agreement that we don't need the government to come into that verbal contract. But now they have instilled so much distrust in each other. No matter if Roy is white, black, brown, yellow, green. I hate labels, titles, and categories. That is one thing I will say I hate. Roy's another human being. Justin's another human being. Roy provides cannabis to Justin. Justin provides mechanical service to Roy. Compensation for goods and services is null and void as far as monetary system.
Well, the reason they have to put it on a paper dollar and track it that way is because if they didn't, they can't tax you.
Correct.
Because they can't take 10% of you fixing something for me. And we'll only fix it 90% and then come do 10% of that for us. So without being able to extort you in some other way, they have to come up with a paper where everybody agrees on it's worth something. And we do it with everything, though. The Pokemon cards that are being raffled off at the state convention next weekend.
Which my son would love.
They're rare Pokemon cards, but they're only valuable because people agree they're valuable.
Correct. It's the same thing with NFTs or anything else.
Hunter Biden's artwork.
I instill my values into tangible skill sets, being able to provide for my family, knowing the nature and the law of the environment that I have to navigate every day, and that's it. I mean, that's what I have to pass on to my children as far as the next generation is how to survive amongst their other fellow human beings, into which they're not going to have violent conflict with those other human beings. It has to be all inclusive if we're going to change anything, don't you think?
Well, yeah. Anytime you break down into the smaller sets, you're gonna create minorities and exclude them. And so this whole trying to find out how everybody's different needs to stop. We need to go back to showing how we're all the same.
Yeah.
And how we can look at another person's life and see how if we'd made a different choice, that could be us.
Yeah, where's the value? Because I could have made different choices and increase my value or decrease my value. I'm sure you could say the same. But our journey has led us to this actual point in time. And you still can't denigrate another human being just because of the choices that they made, because they're not you. You know what I mean? We have to protect our fellow human being. And that's another thing that the military taught me is I have to protect my fellow human.
Yeah, we were all green in the Army.
I was in the Navy.
So you
the
were
Army actually went and accepted my waiver, and I went into the Navy. And I thought that was fucking strange. I had a cannabis charge. The Army wouldn't take my waiver, but the Navy did.
The Navy also didn't have height and weight requirements probably either.
Oh, absolutely they did. And that's why you have 6'8" guys always being submariners.
Yeah.
It's a fucking joke, dude. No, they didn't have height weight requirements. They just wanted you to be able to complete shit and pass a test that, the ASVAB as, 80% or whatever you had to do. And I was actually trying to get into the Scout Sniper program in the Army, and then the general was like, no, you got a cannabis charge. We can't take you. Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, as far as the whole cannabis thing goes, the coolest thing ever in my life, was that I finished my first tour in the Army, I got discharged.
You completed your contract.
Yeah. Well, on April 20th of 2000. After 4 years.
It's April 22nd. I'm sorry I didn't get you on April 20th, but 420 seems to be attracted to you along with cannabis.
I served 4 years and 20 days.
You have to be shitting me.
I am not. I have the DD-214 to prove it.
You have to be shitting me that you served 420 days, got discharged on 420. You got to be shitting me.
Of 2000, yeah, that was my first one. And I re-enlisted after, I was out for like 2 months and said, civilian life sucks.
You have got to be shitting
Went back
me.
for more.
See, and as a Norse pagan, I don't know if Mohican is pagan or not. I'm a pagan.
Yeah.
That is fate.
I'm actually Rastafarian, but
Really?
yeah.
So a native Rastafarian Wisconsinite in northern Wisconsin on are you on the res right now?
No, it's 2 blocks away from me though.
Oh, well, we're
I
just
live in
talking
the town
about
on the edge of the
invisible
reservation.
lines and borders, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're on the res. That's your native land.
It's the same cops.
Exactly. They cover the same ground, right?
Yeah.
I think you're doing a wonderful thing. As a Navy veteran, as a guy that lost his PTSD counselor in a mass shooting down in Fort Hood in November back in 2009. And shout out to Captain Gary Russell Seeger. Great man at the Milwaukee VA, and going to deploy and try and help people on site. And that's one thing that we always talked about. Are you going to be on site? You're going to be on site for yourself. You're going to be on site for your people. You're going to be on site for anybody that needs your help. And you just be on site. And if things happen, whatever.
Yeah, that being there for your brother thing, that's so important. And
Yep.
And to me especially, because when I was over in the war in Bosnia, we were there 97, 98. And when I initially got there, I had another guy that was my battle buddy, because when you go into a situation like that, you get a battle buddy. And they passed this thing at that time called the Lautenberg Amendment. And what that said was, if you've ever been accused of a domestic violence charge, you can't have a firearm.
Right.
And he had one prior to enlistment. So he got the notification. He had to go home. He was being charged in the Army.
You falsified your application. You're
at the time, it wasn't illegal. And they knew about it. He didn't hide anything. There was no, just like the OWI, where you can't re-enlist now with an OWI.
Yeah, the zero tolerance.
Yeah. Funny how that though. So let me finish the whole respect to Marshall. His wife didn't wait for him to get home. She left with the kids. So
bye-bye.
He got home to nobody.
Yep.
And
this is another thing people out in America don't know about, because this is not what's going to actually get your kids to recruit for the state.
And then he had nobody. And his battle buddy was still in the war.
Mm-hmm.
And he took his own life before I got home.
Mm-hmm. Another thing people out there don't understand.
So.
And rest in peace.
But now so this Lautenberg Amendment thing really irks me. Because
I want to serve my country. Do you think that's what I need to do? I think that's a mentality that is entitled to a person born into this country.
Well, the equal protection under the law, and how that somehow doesn't apply to police officers, apparently.
Well, you're not equal to them, because you're always going to be subservient to them, because they provide the enforcement of public policy.
Have you seen the 40% meme?
Probably not.
And I had to Google it and look it up and fact check this, but the claim was that 40% of law enforcement families have episodes of domestic violence in any given year.
I'm sure that's true.
But they cover for each other, and nothing ever gets filed. And so,
you know that from being a military personnel individual, that's what happens to the crew if you are not on site when you need to be, or you may be a little bit late, but you help a brother out. You know what I mean? You've done that. You help somebody that didn't get to muster in enough time, or some shit like that, and well, he's sick in bed, he's already going in the 6 call, or whatever the fuck you said to your squad leader or whatever. The thing is that covering for another individual that is supposed to be held responsible, it shouldn't matter. It should not matter.
covering for someone that's a little bit late and covering for someone that beat their wife and their children or something is a much different situation. You're talking about a violent crime versus, maybe some shenanigans. And then you put these people out there where they have to intercede in other people's domestic violence situations, and these people are aggressive. So I don't like how, and as a veteran and someone who swore to uphold the Constitution and that the equal protection under the law means that you can't have qualified immunity for these kind of people, actions, because it creates a whole separate class where the Constitution doesn't apply to them.
Most of them are clowns anyway. They couldn't hold a fucking conversation or protect somebody's ass because they don't know their taser from the firearm. They don't know lethal force from non-lethal force in the split second, and that's what makes them clowns. And I'll say that because I'm a lunatic. Yeah. And if you get mad at me, I'm sorry, but I'm a lunatic, and I think that you should be held accountable. There should be no immunity to your punk-ass people. If you kill somebody, even if it was an accident, admit your shit. Don't protect somebody.
Well, and my unique perspective on it as a veteran who was in Bosnia, where
a non-combative lost their life.
The bad guy was the police.
Oh.
We were over there because the police were ethnically cleansing villages, and but it was the Serbian police and the Bosnian police that took their qualified immunity to the next level. They were the one that they disarmed the population. They were the only ones with the guns, kind of what you see happening in the United States today, where they want to take the weapons away from the population. And so only the police have guns, but then supposedly the police are bad, but now they're good again. And we got to rearm them. And these police are better armed than I was during the war.
Yeah, I don't know much about Bosnia or Serbia. The only thing I knew is what my former supervisor told me when he was on a patrol, because there were so many landmines in that area. Like, it was ridiculous. You never knew if you were going to step on something. That was what you were told. You better be looking down and down and up and down and up and down and up, because you never knew what you were going to step on. And yeah, a guy that was like 3 personnel behind him in a patrol said something to him, and then all of a sudden he took a step, and then his boot hit him in the face. And that was probably the only thing that I remember from that shit is somebody on patrol that was talking to another individual, and then they just weren't there, and he got kicked in the face by him. And that's some real shit. And I think people need to understand when they glorify whether there's something that you disagree with somebody. Remember, if somebody's kicking in your front door and they don't belong to your country, maybe you'll start realizing when the real is the real. And I think Obama dropped more ordnance from drones than any other individual on the planet. I don't know. I'm not a big war fan. I'm not a big war fan. Not big about sending people to police other people when we can't even police ourselves. And when I mean ourselves, it's the individual policing themselves. And it's gotten quite ridiculous in this country, in my opinion, just because there's an overabundance of a food source. There's an overabundance of everything else. But yet again, it depends on where you're from. It depends on what dichotomy you come from. But yet again, you can be a veteran and go to the VA and get shit on. And, well, you have some people that say, well, veterans are the greatest people on the planet, and then you have the other source of the spectrum. Well, they volunteer for that shit. They knew what they were getting into. The government takes care of them anyway. And I think their ignorant response is all the way around, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I don't think it makes us any more special than anybody else. It's just something we did, and it is a choice we made.
Yeah, we made that choice, and I will admit that. But I will say that it was under false pretenses on some, especially people after 9/11.
My father was drafted. He didn't have a choice. my grandfather, who fought in the Korean War, he, I believe, volunteered, but he was not considered a citizen because he was a native. He was a prisoner of war for 3 years, came home, and was denied veterans benefits to start out with because that's what they said. You're not a citizen. You're an Indian.
And now they actually have specific. They've made it so specific for your veterans benefits because of situations like this that it's become absolutely ridiculous. Did you serve time in theater from X, Y, Z, B, D, A? Oh, were you a part of this event here? Boom, 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 boom. And the VA has become quite ridiculous. But you'll have individuals that have been narcotics abusers who never even completed boot camp get 100% disability for the rest of their life. I will say that on the record here because I've seen it.
Yeah, I currently have no disability rating from the VA because
I don't care. They can go fuck themselves.
And they kicked me out the first time. They claimed that I had never even been overseas. And then they said that they couldn't find my medical records because there had been a fire in Kansas City.
I know many Vietnam veterans, and Russ Feingold was actually a senator that actually went and fought to go get those records because I know there was a lot of Air Force and Army personnel that had their records destroyed in that accidental fire because it was an entire I think it was like 2 or 3 warehouses back to back that went up in flames with personnel records.
Yeah. But so I just gave up on it. My health care has been getting paid for by my tribe anyway for my whole life. So it's just I don't get any cash type benefits or anything but my health care is covered, so I really don't feel like they owe me anything anyway. So
I believe the government owes me a lot of shit. It has nothing to do with about fucking money though. So that's why I do this podcast, because I don't think the government is what initial intention was supposed to be. They have become bullies around the world. And I've seen it in a number of different countries. And I'm sorry, but you're not here to police other people. And then when you look at what's going on in the United States, especially in Wisconsin, there has been no mention of the mask mandate that was struck down by our Supreme Court, who was first. They were the first ones, and there was nothing. It's like a blip on national news because it doesn't fit the narrative. But our state, once Tony Evers got that mask mandate shut down, it was done. And then the law was changed to say that every 30 days you need a review of emergency powers. I think that Wisconsin's probably one of the biggest libertarian states that have a lot of fucked up policies that are brought about by Democrats and Republicans that have been arguing with each other. But I think the people in Wisconsin as people are libertarian as hell. Don't fuck with me, I'm gonna fuck with you. If you need something, I'll help you out. And that's the Wisconsinite way. Do you agree?
Well, from the people standpoint, but when they get down to Madison, then they can't agree on anything, and it's all about R's and D's, and they won't help each other across the aisle from something, like you said, libertarian as the cannabis policies. When we're at 38 states that have medical programs and 18 that are fully legal. And Wisconsin, who used to lead the nation in hemp production, we have none of that.
We used to kick everybody's ass, including Canada as an entire country, ladies and gentlemen, in hemp production. So, Canada's entire country, Wisconsin could kick the shit out of them.
I know people here in Wisconsin that have hemp businesses and making things like hempcrete that have to import their resources from other countries because there's not enough producers they can get it from here.
Because Americans don't understand what's actually out there for them for capitalism. Skills. Get some skills. Learn some knowledge. Fuck what the government's telling you. Get out of them schools.
Go out there and actually get some real skill with some real people that get down in the dirt, and you'll find out a whole lot of shit. Like I can make a fucking engine run on alcohol. I can make an engine run on. I wish it was water vapor, but I'm not that technologically advanced just yet. But I'll get there eventually. But I can make stuff happen, you know. And if you want some designs or some ideas, I mean, there's people out there that are thinking on the ground because they have to compensate for the barricades the government gets involved with.
Well, way back in the day when it was back to the illegalization of cannabis and hemp. At that time, Henry Ford had been designing a car that was completely made of hemp fiber that ran
Front to back.
on hemp fuel.
The wheels, the tires, everything, front to back. The entire vehicle was
An
nothing but hemp.
entire biodegradable car, a sustainable resource, and yep, got shut down because they wouldn't give him a patent to call it a car.
Right, because it didn't fit their narrative.
Right.
Hey, Roy, tell these individuals about what you're going to be doing in the next week or two, and you are going to be at a convention, correct?
Yes, I bought my gold ticket.
You fucker, you probably took the last one. I only got a VIP ticket, but I will be there.
No, the
Hey.
VIP ticket is better than the gold ticket. Actually, you get to sit at the head table. There was only 6 of those.
No, then I got a gold ticket, not a VIP ticket.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, there's only 6 VIPs, and then, yeah, I got the gold level ticket because I was late.
Yeah, so was I. So was I. But I'll see you next Friday. Tell the people about what you think should happen in Wisconsin as far as the cannabis, because we have some very strict cannabis laws. We just it's only been probably about 5 to 10 years that we actually got cannabis or hemp CBD for epilepsy only. So let the people know about the prohibition in Wisconsin. I'll be right back.
Well, in Wisconsin, yeah, they had just the CBD only for the epilepsy program. But then in 2018, when the government passed the U.S. Farm Bill that opened up CBD that was 0.3% THC or lower dry weight, and all of its extracts were unregulated and could be used. So that opened up a whole new market, which made the CBD could be sold anywhere to anyone. And recently there's been an emergence in the market of what is Delta 8 THC, Delta 10 THC, THCO, HHC. These are all other cannabinoids that are derived from the hemp plant, and they extract it out to get the CBD. Then they force a chemical reaction that changes the covalent bond from the atoms to create a delta 8 cannabinoid. And the difference between the delta 8 and the delta 9 is just that the double covalent bond is on the 8th atom and not the 9th or the 10th. They're pretty much identical. It's like making a ham sandwich and putting the cheese on the outside of the bun. You just rearrange the same ingredients. It's the same thing, does the same thing, but one is legal and one is not. It's a completely arbitrary line. And these variants now here in Wisconsin, and being completely unregulated, they can sell them in vending machines. There's no age restrictions. Now they say, on the machine there's a thing, B18, but legally speaking, there's actually no law that has an age restriction on any of these things. So you're running into, more incidents of like overdoses, what they call an overdose. And these come from eating edibles generally, because when they take an edible or eat a pill, it goes through your liver and becomes 3 times more potent. It transforms into an 11-hydroxy THC. It takes about 2 hours to 3 hours to kick in. And this is why the overdoses, I hate using that word, happen. is because people think it's not doing anything, so they take more and they take more, as opposed to like smoking a cannabis where you feel the effects almost, instantaneously. So you get to a point where you realize you've had enough and you don't take anymore. Where when you're eating it, by the time you realize you've had enough, you've had too much. So you have to really plan it out. And that's why dosing is so important. And the confusion between something that is 30% THC, that's a potency, and a dose of 15, 20, 25 milligrams, because the potency only says how much is something else. When a cannabis says 20% THC, might be 6% CBD. You have other cannabinoids and things in there, plus the plant material. That is just a percentage of the gross weight that is THC. It has nothing to do with how high you're going to get from it. And that is why you have to know that 10 milligrams is what you're taking, not a potency.
Sounds like you're a real cannabis connoisseur that just educated everybody about what cannabis really is. And it's only on a small scale of what we really understand as far as our endocannabinoid system and how it affects us.
Right. And there's over 113 different cannabinoids within the cannabis plant. That doesn't even include the flavonoids. And it's branched out into three different things. There's as many different cannabises as there are medicines out there, different variants, different variations. A cannabis is not a one thing. And all of these different cannabinoids and the flavonoids, that they work together in something called an entourage effect, which in the whole plant material, that works together, and this synergy that comes from it, where they all do a specific thing and do their part. And now in the medical field, what they're doing is they're taking those and they're extracting them out, and they're breaking these things down and taking just one part of it and just these single parts, and then testing them, but they don't have as great of an effect as they do when they work together. And
Roy, do you think that's the same application as whole foods versus the whole plant?
yes, it is, because the plant, for lack of, evolved to be what it is, a whole natural being, because you needed what was in that. Your body makes you hunger for certain things because your body craves the nutrients that it gets from certain items. And so that's why certain things taste sweet and taste salty to us, because it has those specific things that our body is going to need. And so our body has learned to look for those, and they work together.
Do you think the whole cannabis plant and its brother or sister, however you want to use the nomenclature, as far as the hemp plant, do you think that was put here by the higher ups? I'm a Norse pagan, and you are a Rastafarian. So the higher ups put this plant here for us to consume and put into our bodies to make our bodies well.
It perfectly matches what our body needs. Our body has an endocannabinoid system, and it naturally produces its own cannabinoids. And by using the plant, they fit almost perfectly into our receptors, like they were made to do this.
There's a marriage.
Yeah. And what it never overproduces.
Correct.
It just regulates. It stabilizes it and brings it into harmony of what it's supposed to be. That why you can't really overdo it, because your body can't. The government studied this back in the 1930s where they did these horrible, some more of these animal testings. And what they did is they took these THC extracts and they gave it to dogs because they wanted to find out how it affected them.
Well, when the government came out with Marinol with the FDA and the pharmaceutical companies, it's pure THC with lemon oil. That's what it is. Pure THC. And people have harsh reactions to that chemical when it's only that chemical. Now, like you said, it's a harmonious plant that puts into harmony our human being self. Our human body gets equilibrium out of consuming the plant in its entirety, whether it's from hemp seed to hemp oil to cannabis flower. No matter if you eat it, smoke it, or vape it, it doesn't matter.
With these dogs, then they tried to find a lethal dose, and they literally fed these dogs so much cannabis in an attempt to kill them, and they couldn't. They'd fall asleep, and they'd stagger around and drool, but they'd sleep it off and they'd wake up with no noticeable negative effects.
I don't think that has anything in comparison to the botfly parasite infection that Dr. Fauci was involved with beagles out in South Africa. But that was fact checked, and the NIH didn't pay for any of that, but they did.
Yeah,
we can produce the receipts, and just give me a couple hours, and I will post them.
And another problem in the Wisconsin law, the Republican medical marijuana bill, because they did not want to include cannabis whole flower.
Right.
Because again, in their whole misconception, well, they thought people are going to smoke it and blow the smoke on their kids, and because every cannabis user is an asshole.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a serious question now. Do you think the League of Taverns in Wisconsin has the biggest influence on cannabis prohibition in this state?
No.
No?
I think it's the pharmaceutical industry, followed by the private prison industry. Tavern League being a third, probably. But we've had, I personally had talks with Tavern League members and all that are not opposed. And now with the coming around of THC drinks.
But is that publicly or privately?
It's more privately.
Well, see, that's the difference, though, because people can admit it in private anything they want.
Right.
They can admit anything. When it's public policy that is being implemented, the people that actually have the whatever extremity you want to claim, whatever your pronouns are, I will say, the thing is that you have the umption to actually declare that publicly. You don't care about the repercussions of it because that's who you are in your essence. I think that's one thing that politicians lack. I think that's one thing libertarians bring. Do you think that having real passion, because it's something that has affected your life over years? Excuse me. I'm almost done. Hold on. All right. I'm good. Because so if it's something that has really affected your life over the course of maybe 5 years, maybe a decade, maybe a couple decades, you are going to learn about the processes of why that affliction has come into your being. You're going to get educated on it. You're going to try and figure out what's the best options for yourself. The thing is that the government doesn't give a shit. They really don't. They protect the money that pays them to keep their essence being. They protect whoever is going to pay them to stay in existence. Now, when we talk about public policy, Wisconsin has horrible cannabis laws. I think cannabis should be completely decriminalized. There should be nothing on the Wisconsin state statute about cannabis because I can grow it in my backyard. I don't have to talk to any dealer. I don't have to talk to anybody.
And that is definitely the best way to go and the libertarian way to go.
Correct.
I firmly believe the solution is not passing another law like the MORE Act, or whatever Chuck Schumer's is going to be.
I like to repeal. Just
we need less laws now.
I'm a libertarian that says that I don't need to pass one fucking law like LBJ said. I need to pass the most bills ever. No, I don't give a shit about any of that. I'm not trying to set records other than saying that this has to go, this has to go, this has to go, this has to go, this has to go. This executive order has to go, has to go, has to go, has to go. Because the governor's mansion has an illegal plant growing in its front yard from 1847. And it's been there ever since like 1920. And it's an illegal plant that's actually grown on the governor's mansion's property. So when government tells me something, I always tell the government, go fuck yourself.
Well, most laws are not made to help you with your rights.
No, they're barricades. They're barricades put there to say that you can't have this life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness because I'm the big gov.
After the Bill of Rights, that established, but what the Bill of Rights didn't give us rights, it told the government what rights that they couldn't take from us because
correct. But they took them anyway.
We're giving you these. It said they told the government you can't take these.
They're still taking them.
Yeah.
When they're talking about words hurting people, if words hurt you, I'm sorry, but you need to learn a bigger vocabulary.
Well, another thing I saw in Green Bay, I think it happened. They pulled over a vehicle, and the officer smelled cannabis, and so they got the guys out of the vehicle. Three guys out of the vehicle, and between them, they found 2 ounces of weed and 5 handguns. All of a sudden, these guys are up on felony handgun charges.
Yep.
Didn't commit any other crime. Did nothing wrong, from what I read in that report. But they were using cannabis laws to take away our Second Amendment rights.
Hey, Roy, you should actually CCAT me in Wisconsin because I just spoke words to the police department. That's all I did. Spoke words over the phone. Blow your shit up. I was all fucked up on whiskey and great Kool-Aid. Please, everybody, stay away from Old Thompson's whiskey and great Kool-Aid in abundance. Do that because that's what I was on when I told the police department that I was going to blow their shit up. But previously, I will digress. I will say that I asked 2 weeks previous to say, hey, this guy was fucking with me at work. I need to see somebody before I break this dude's face in. And when you cry for help, what do? They imprison you. They put me on a 72-hour hold, and then they put me into a fucking program. But the only thing is that it didn't address the problem at my workplace. Because I went back to the workplace and found out dude got floored in the parts room. Dude got a 3-day suspension for flooring that motherfucker. 3 days. And I had to spend almost 3 months in an institution because I was saying I was going to actually go break dude's face in, pre-warning people, saying, hey, I'm crying out for help here. This guy's fucking with me at work. He sprayed me with a water hose in like negative 20-degree temperatures. So, yeah, that comes with, that's an act of aggression that came against me first. So, once that happens, it's fucking game on.
Yeah. Well, I always find it funny too when I'm reading the paper and that, and you see somebody who's gotten arrested for resisting arrest.
Yeah, and when you see the camera footage of most of those incidents, it was the officer that was the fucking aggressor.
Well, with no other charge.
Yeah.
Well, why were you arresting them that they were resisting if they're not being charged with something?
Oh, he talked shit to you. You felt like a bitch, and then you had to do something because you're the law.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court said you're allowed to tell the cops they're motherfucking pigs and they're not allowed to do anything.
That's freedom of speech.
A freedom of speech. Yeah.
Yeah, the amendment. I can talk to you however you don't like.
Yeah.
And that gives me the right as an American under the freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, by the way. It's not the first, but it's the second. I can say whatever I want. You don't have to fucking listen. Stop getting all in your fucking jollies about what I'm saying to you. Go do you. Go handle you.
Right.
Be a productive citizen. Go get some fucking shit done. I'm not the one hampering you. You are. Go look in the mirror. Go handle your own shit, and I'll handle mine.
Yeah. I believe in the freedom of speech, that people have the right to say whatever hateful thing that comes to their heart's content. But as a free American, I have the right to walk away. You can't force me to listen to you. So if you're getting in my face and impeding me from getting away from you, now we have a problem.
Correct. You are aggressing upon me. You are impeding me. Get the fuck out of my way. Okay, so now we have a problem. The problem will be solved. 911 doesn't show up instantaneously. There is no Star Trek transporter that is going to put police right there on that scene when shit's happening.
Constitutional carry.
I'm a felon. I can't I can't even be in the presence of a firearm in the Wisconsin. But okay, so that brings me to another thing, Roy. Did you know that the definition of a firearm in Wisconsin has been removed from the legislation?
No, I did not.
Look it up. It has been removed. 941.46 section code C or some shit like that. The definition of it, if you were being charged with possession of a firearm, which is an explosive propelled component, it no longer exists because compressed natural gas, pneumatic compressed weapons have been popularized in London or the UK because you can't own a firearm in the UK. So compressed firearms now, you can have a 50 caliber weapon and it may be an quote unquote air rifle. It's a pneumatically charged weapon at 3,000 psi that can push a 50 caliber projectile through a cinder block at 50 yards.
Yeah. Well, I always laugh too when encounters with the police and they ask me if I have any weapons. Like,
right here. It's my weapon's right here, bitches.
My rifle and my pistol are tools. I'm the weapon. Because, I don't need a firearm to take a life.
No.
That is, the Army trained me very well. You know, and...
Well, knowledge is power. You would agree with that, right?
So, but I don't ever want to have to get to that. I believe in the non-aggression pact, and I believe in just defending,
That's defending your own personal civil liberties and your sovereignty.
I don't want to ever have to,
No, nobody does. But the thing is that where do you draw the line? Where do these definitions come into when we talk about Wisconsin state legislation about cannabis prohibition? What the fuck is cannabis prohibition to the government?
I'm 47 years old. No one has tried to take a swing at me since I was in school. Other than, obviously, military, but it just, you don't put yourself into those situations as a good and honorable human being. If you're not out there robbing people or being a jerk, you're not going to get put in a position where someone's trying to hurt you. Now I understand that in the cities, they've come to these desperations and robberies and things are commonplace.
Those desperations, being from Milwaukee, bro, I think a lot of it is self-imposed, man.
Well, our economy puts us in this situation.
And another disagreement, our skill sets put us in the economy to actually be productive.
Well, but if you go out to get a job and they want to pay you entry-level wages, but demand that you have 3 to 7 years experience, you're never going to get that person.
Yeah, having a job dictate to me anything about their standards versus what the industry standards are. Usually, I don't get a second interview from service managers because they have to protect themselves from me because I have way more knowledge on the transportation industry that they could ever want, because I'm a mechanic that wants to maintain safety, wants to maintain quality equipment on the road that's not going to kill somebody if it's detrimental.
Right.
And see, this is where government implementation, I think, actually applies, just for the simple fact that normal human beings, according to these economics, which is not capitalism, it's crony capitalism, imply that you have to pay the higher ups so that you can survive. I tell all those higher ups, you should come see me in a boxing ring.
Well, I'm familiar with the transportation field. That's what I did in the military. I was a traffic management coordinator. And during the war in Bosnia, I was a customs agent, commercial contractor. I did what they call a TCACIS system, transportation coordinator, automated command and control information systems. And so I would hire commercial contractors to move military personnel and assets from Kapuspar, Hungary, down to Macedonia with my area responsibility, and to do that paperwork for multiple different countries, and not, and for all these different NATO countries.
Just a little disclaimer: all these people still hate each other, by the way, 20 years later.
And I was actually there when Hillary Clinton landed in the Blue Factory and claimed she got shot at. Yeah.
What a clown.
Yeah.
When you think of somebody that should actually be tried for treason, with Benghazi, with the email server, with all the suspected life deaths that are attributed to the Clinton Foundation and everybody else, do you think that's everything? Do you think that's actually somebody that should be tried and convicted for treason? Literally.
I definitely believe that a lot
Hillary
of
Rodham Clinton should be tried for treason.
Yes, she should definitely be there. But a lot of them should in that whole time period.
I think if you actually get her, it would set a kind of like a Supreme Court judgment, kind of like precedent. That I'm sorry, if you want to be a career politician, even if your husband was attached to the Contra before he was elected president, 20 years before he was elected president, or 10, was it 1984? Okay, so 12. But the thing is that we see the chips falling, and that woman, absolutely. I have no adulteration to say that Hillary Rodham Clinton is a person that absolutely fits every fucking criteria to be tried for an individual of treason against the United States of America.
They did a lot to destroy our way of life.
Unequivocally, she fits the definition.
And gained financially.
Yes, it was Saudis, the Clinton Foundation, everything. Book deals, selling Netflix pardon. Movies, fucking, who knows, bro? They're billionaires probably secretly.
Well, and how many times was Bill on, the Lolita Express?
With Epstein, yeah.
And yeah, they covered all that stuff up for so many years, and they got away with it. And
well, Giselle Maxwell got sentenced. Where's all her co-conspirators?
Well, what's going to happen too is, even if they went after Hillary Clinton, it would not be the big reveal that we're hoping for. It would be the JFK assassination. Everything would be national security. We'll tell you about it 70 years from now.
When everybody's dead.
Is dead.
What?
And then
that's a conspiracy, bro. You don't have any influence on what they're going to tell you, bro. It's just a fucking conspiracy, man. And then you talk to real veterans that actually fucking did some shit in some places that you can't talk about, and they'll tell you, yeah, all that's just real. And that's why they bury motherfuckers that actually can say something. Oh, you didn't serve there. We're the government. Oh, okay. Just
Well,
like the guy that started Dry Hooch, who was shot down in Laos, and the Hmong saved his ass. And he was a Vietnam veteran. His name was Robert Curry. Flew illegal missions into Laos during the Vietnam War. He started Dry Hooch, which is a vets organization that doesn't involve alcohol or anything. It's a coffee shop down in Milwaukee and Chicago and a bunch of other affiliates. I met Obama in 2011 when I marched down in Milwaukee during Labor Fest. And it was funny. The Secret Service didn't even, they were like, three motherfuckers were like shaking their head like, no, you don't let him on stage. Mm-mm. The one lady was like, nah, you march, get on stage. And then I was separated. And you can go to a YouTube video of Obama in Milwaukee, 2011, Labor Fest. And I'm sitting back there and I'm like this. Because when he attempted to shake my hand, I looked at dude and he looked at me like I was some nobody. Just a piece of meat that he could throw away. I was like, I got you, bro. I got you. Roger that. I see how you and then when I really started, and this, I didn't know about all the drone strikes that he actually accomplished and how many people that he killed that wasn't a part of the mission. And we're talking about tens of thousands of people. We're talking probably like 15, 16,000 people that are dead for no reason.
You know, that's the stuff that nobody ever talks about. The media never wants to look at it. We pretend it didn't happen.
That's some real shit, though. It happens every day.
When I was in Bosnia, you know, they had they'd shoot from schools. You know, they would literally use people as human shields.
And then there was a declaration in the government that said, okay, the enemy is going to use schools and any kind of religious asset as a shelter. Well, those are now military targets. And the first thing you're going to hit are schools, hospitals, and religious institutions.
Well, and these are the same tactics I think that was going on over in the Ukraine. And I'd seen YouTube videos of that where the Azov battalion would be setting up their howitzers next to a school. So that way, you know, when the Russians would then inevitably shell the school, they could cry, well, look, they're blowing up schools. Send us weapons. They're blowing up our hospitals. They bait them into blowing up certain things and then use the media and the worldwide attention to cry victim.
Yep.
You know, and yes, it happened. These atrocities are happening. Russia is doing it, but they're forcing. You know, they're wanting it to happen that way. You know, because they can use that to gain another shipment of weapons to come in and a little bit more cries of support. All the way to the part now where Zelensky is saying that if we don't send him more stuff, that we are actually helping Russia by
all that shit's a fucking game, bro. Russia wants to make more money on the centralized banking system. They want to take every asset that Ukraine has. Ukraine no longer has nuclear weapons. Russia and the United States said when Ukraine gave up the nuclear weapons that they will both protect Ukraine. This is all just fucking political theater of who wants to get paid because the monetary system is going to be crashing and who has the oil.
Well, and I think that is a situation that the U.S. wasn't expecting when the OPEC countries and that started going off of the dollar and shifting over to accepting the yen as currency to get
or the ruble. They started accepting the yen, the ruble, all other kind of currencies, but it's fucking with world markets, which are all based on bullshit anyway. It's all money that came out of fucking thin air. If you want real tangible assets that are up here that come through these right here, these hands, I can go plant a garden with this. This is a tool right here in front of me. Neanderthals knew that this was a tool. This is a tool. Mohican, we're about 10 minutes over our threshold, but we're still rolling. So I'm going to go into a little rant real quick. I'm the lunatic libertarian. I can go into all different kind of labels, titles, and categories that says that I'm different from another human being. The real difference is humans that want to survive will survive. The humans that don't want to survive will call for help. And yet again, the people that call for help in combat are already the people that fucking were the people that went out and fucking said, I was going to be the guy doing this. So you don't understand really what happens from the movies to real life. If you were a gangster that walked up to another gangster and did them in violently, then you probably understand what I'm talking about. But the thing is that human beings love the movies. They love the influence. They love the Hollywood and all this other stuff, to where somebody's actually having a normal voice conversation between two individuals in the middle of a firefight. That shit ain't real. It's absolutely not real. You can barely hear yourself. So when it comes to reality versus the difference of government, cannabis is your friend. You have an internal cannabinoid system. Cannabis is here to be your friend. The government is not. I would say that Roy Martin for Wisconsin 6th Assembly District is the man that understands cannabis. And he's not a scientist. Dr. Fauci is a scientist who will tell you to stick foreign substances into your body to survive versus having the endo system take care of itself, like Roy Martin would. Wisconsin sucks as far as cannabis laws. They're all full of shit. Henry Anslinger, I'm sorry, but you were protecting your budget and wanted to know how you're going to get paid. We learn these lessons as life because we have decades to look at them. Now, as citizens that are progressively going to go into a lifestyle that will be more detrimental, very catastrophically, very soon, very much sooner than people would like. 10, 12 years from now, do you see the ocean filled with plastic? Do you see that humans cannot get along because of stupid ass differences?
Anything you can make out of plastic, you can make out of hemp. So
Yes.
we should be making those plastic things out of hemp, and then they'd be biodegradable, renewable, instead of forever chemicals that will float forever into the ocean.
Yeah, but we already got all these industries in place, and then it's going to change everything. Well, fuck, motherfucker. Maybe you should have made a better business choice.
Well, that's what I hear too in the cannabis industry, and they complain about too many licenses out there, and you can't make any money at it. And well, if you
fuck
have a
your
good
licenses,
product,
fuck your barricades, fuck.
If you have a good product, you're going to be in business.
That's
what our market is about. And if you have a crappy product that nobody wants, you're going to be
nobody's going to pay you to get your product, and you're going to be fucking stuck in the ground, bankrupt.
Everybody wants the pretty girl.
I don't want a pretty girl. I want a functional lady. Fuck a pretty girl.
That's what we call the good ones. You know, when you're looking at a good cannabis bud, I mean, that girl, she's pretty. And I do say girl because it is a girl.
Yeah, it's a female plant. I'm sorry for everybody and anybody that doesn't understand the hormones and chromosomes. I'm sorry. It's a female versus male. It's hormones and chromosomes. This is the lunatic. No longer saying in the head libertarian science function of the day. There are males and there are females only in the chromosome system.
And they have specific gender roles in this instance. They do specific things. And actually, in this case, the males are bad. We don't want those males around. We get rid of them and we kill them off.
Yeah, because they produce what?
Well, because the THC is the hormone that the female plant produces trying to get herself pollinated.
Yeah.
And once she's pollinated, she stops making that and starts producing seeds.
Yes.
She reproduces. And So to get the good cannabinoids out of it, the female's got to be left frustrated.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you actually get that female to reproduce and make sure that other females are the ones that are frustrated, I guarantee you that you can harmoniously continue a certain crop if you wanted to, without certain chemical influences or genetic modification or anything like that, or even like cloning.
Yeah, well, cloning is how you go to keep identical from one generation to the next. But you take the males and the females and you put them together if you're trying to breed new genetics into a thing. That if you want to take the calming effect from one plant with the pain relieving from another one, and you breed those two plants together to get one plant that is going to give you both effects that you're desired to. So.
Well, and I would just say that let nature take its course, because I think that plant has us about 99 years behind where we're supposed to be right here from consuming that plant. Maybe it's almost a million years in our evolution. I don't know. I'm a lunatic libertarian. This is my man, Roy Martin, running for 6th Assembly District in Wisconsin. Cannabis entrepreneur encyclopedia. Get with this man if you want to talk about cannabis and the prohibition about cannabis. Wisconsin's probably one of the worst states in the entire country.
I will be in Green Bay next weekend at the Radisson Inn Hotel for the Libertarian State Party Convention. So you can find me there. Anybody that wants to come, there are tickets available on the website. Come and see us. But yes, I just read a report that if medical cannabis became legal in all 50 states, that the pharmaceutical industry stands to lose $48 billion a year.
No, it's probably like $1 trillion over the next of 2.5 years.
Yeah. So they're spending lots and lots of money buying campaigns. They're putting more money into campaigns than people make in the position.
To all my veterans that run night ops, go run some night ops and go visit some of these pharmaceutical people. Just say hello in a nice, friendly way to remind them of who actually are the people of the citizens of this country. All you got to do is say hello. I can see you, and that's it. I'm the lunatic libertarian. My man, Roy Martin, Wisconsin 6th Assembly District. Get out here, vote libertarian. Get after those policies of liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness, no matter who you are. That's the libertarian way. Don't fuck with people. Don't steal their shit. You'll be all right. Just help your fellow man. I'm the lunatic libertarian. It's Friday, people. I got paid. I gotta go drink some beers because that's what the lunatic does after his podcast. Thank you very much, Roy. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having
This is the show. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, do whatever. Get on this trip of lunacy with liberty. I'm the lunatic libertarian, Justin Lomness, and we are out.